Might you be playing Monty Hole? Well, let's make a deal and talk about Magic Item Compendium. Now, if you have a Magic Item Compendium book with a pencil that you've lightly checked off the magic items you don't have on your character sheet, you might be playing Monty Hole. Now, in AD&D, they actually fairly, a little weak, but strong enough, discourage you from actually doing it. Write the Dungeon Master's Guide. Don't do it. It sucks. It's pretty much right there. With the D20 creep, it just kept creeping up, and I think it continues to expand from there in all the permutations and mutations and transmogrifications of role-playing that have spun off of that, where you have what is can only possibly describe as a video game mentality. You drop it like it's hot. It's like, boop, 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 boop. One magic item after another, plus 1 sword, plus 2 sword, plus 3 sword, plus 4 sword, flame tongue. Yay, I got plus 5 sword here. To the ground with you. I have no truck with the likes of a plus 4 flame sword. And it keeps going up and up and up and up until that nothing means anything at all. And you only have a vague haze of what you've done and so forth. Magic items themselves are props. They are there to help you tell a story. For me, I am strongly of the mindset that you can catastrophically destroy your game and make your character way less cool by just grabbing every kind of magic item under the sun. For me, how many magic items does a character need? None. None. No character anywhere ever needs any magic items. You can have some. They can be interesting props to help you tell a story. But I mean, certainly if you need them, you need something besides magic items. That is definitely not your problem. There are a lot of other problems going on right there. They, again, only help tell a story, or they detract from telling a story. Any prop, regardless of what it is. And I make fun of the +6 sort of bootiness on a regular basis. That the reason for that is trying to bring people in the mindset of what a magic item is, what any possession in any game, regardless of what it is. It's a prop. Does it help you tell a better story? That's the litmus test. Often the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is, well, I've just destroyed the game. Well, wait a minute. Well, I don't want something to destroy the game. That sounds horrible. That sounds horrible. Yet people cling to it with a miserly aspect that they'll actually take it home with them after the game. Like, ha ha, my carpet of flying. Right to my house I go. No, you don't. So you shouldn't have any real degree of attachment out of character to such things. Does it make your character more fun to play? Yeah, whatever. Those should never be the highlights of a character. It's your personality tweaks, your aspect of playing them, the difference between him and you. That's where the magic is. It ain't the magic ain't a +5 sword, my man. And if you think it is, you got to step your game up, because we don't have a defensible or debatable point here. It's simply a stance of the Thunder God telling you just what the deal is. And that deal is this. Don't allow a problem to persist and precipitate. And they are created by hordes and hordes of magic items, right? And again, and I talk about this particular test over and over again. If you saw it in a novel, if you saw it in a book, you'd be like, wow, that's cool. Or you'd be like, oh, wait, well, what sword does he have again? He's like throwing like 18 away. I forget what they were. You see? So you name the things. You bring them in. You give them a legacy. You give them a story. You put them in a place to allow the character to have an emotional connection to them. It's like, hey, I got a +5 sword from Dragon's Sword. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares, man? It doesn't have any real story there. It's just, but if you have this really interesting story where, you've acquired this sword or this military fork or whatever weapon that you've acquired, and it has a story behind it, and it has a reason behind it, and it has history behind it, and legend, and it has something that connects to the character, that builds up the item, that makes it cool to them. And all of a sudden, when you have a character, and he's checked off, he's like, that's my item. He's like, yeah, my item might be a +1 sword that does like this and this. And yeah, okay, this other item could be way more powerful, but this story is here. In my hand, I have a story. That's something. A story is a tangible thing that you can actually take out of the game. Bonuses are not. So you play for nothing when you play for a continual bonus ramp stack. And you play for everything when you play for the story, for the cool factor, for the aspect to take it away. Remember, and this is not a joke, people look back on games and 10, 15, 20, 30 years later, and they go, wow, that character was cool. You did this and this and this. And then it's like, and then you're sitting there like, yeah, man, you were in that game. You had a character. What did you do? And they're sitting there with shame. I don't remember what my character did either. I remember your character, though, my main man. And I remember that he was an edifice of opulence, undeniable and unimitatable by any entity and individual at any time. And that's what you want to play for. That's the sweet spot. That's the sound of music. When other people remember what you did above what they did. Remember your cool factor when they didn't bring it. And then you could just drop the knowledge on them. Well, instead of this concept you had right here to play Dritz to Orden the 19th, how about make something cool? How about we go through the process and we break it down step by step to create a character to make memories and magic happen. And that's where it lies. If any prop is getting in the way as a game master, you got to get that out. Don't ever just go through and just give players loads and loads of stuff and incentivize them that way. Trust me, if the only cool factor they can have is getting that new Warhammer and breastplate, then there are dramatic problems that are going on in your game. You need to just, you need to build a whole new engine. At that point, you cannot use that as a fix, because what you do is you continue to ramp up the expectation. You continue to degrade the ability. It doesn't matter. If I get a +3 sword this week and I get a +4 sword next week, the +4 sword has less cool factor than the +3 sword did, because it's something else, right? It's not 100% and also another 100%. It's like 100% and then like 60%. And then when I have that +5 sword, 2 weeks after that, it's like 30%. And then I get that +6 sword, it's like 5%. I'm like, oh, what do I get next week? A +7 sword? Oh no, 2 weeks from now, +7 sword. Oh, okay. So I have to wait for that one. It loses its value and its relevance, and it becomes essentially nothing in the game, in the scheme of things. So I think that that's something that's very important to consider, and not to get involved in the idea of Monty hauling, not to get in the idea of that sort of terrible game master idea where you're trying to pacify your problematic players by handing them doles of treasure and stacks of coins. Trust me, they're not really digging that or enjoying it. Hit them with a slamming story with crisp, believable NPCs. Hit them with a world that breathes and lives and thrives and don't give a damn about them. And all of a sudden, they'll be giving a damn about this world. They'll be giving a damn about what you're doing. And they'll forget all about the +5 hammer of Manticore powerness. They're going to think about the NPCs, about the story, about the backlog, about, all these things. And then you come back and you can sprinkle in some magic items and make them mean something, build a story around them, use them as tools. Because see, then again, what you've done with the Monty Hallism is you've stripped yet another tool for telling stories out of your arsenal. When it's just a +5 sword, it doesn't matter if it has a billion abilities on it. The +5 Holy Avenger, Flame Tongue, Frostbrand, Dragon Slaying, Titan sword, it's still not cool. None of those things made it cool. What makes it cool is a story attached to it, the story that you could continue to tell, that you could come back to, that they could sit there with soliloquy and stare at the blade and see the reflection in the steel and the light of the fire, and they can remember their mentor as he fell, as he gave the sword to them, as he said, continue my fight, step up. You didn't step up before. You had failed before. You had pushed over towards the darkness. You had come too close to the black shadows. But I need you to pull back to the fire like I did. I need you to take my sword and my gauntlet and be a force in the world. I am done. But you must strive forward and continue on. And they look at the sword and the fire, and they think about the shadow they could have become, and they see the flames, and they know that they are what the shadow fears now. That is what you want to do with magic items.